It's the end of 2024, I'm in my hoodie and I'm ready to chill and just look back on the year and see how we did. I'm basically done with all my markets. I don't think I'll have any more sales since it's like the last week of December. So let's kind of just look back and see how we did as a business. It's also a very unique year because I was unemployed from my full-time job for like half the year basically. So it's kind of like a realistic look of how I would do as like a full-time artist. Start off by looking at the year as a whole and breaking it down by month and quarter on how we performed in terms of sales. So breaking it by quarter at first, let's look at Q1. It looks like that we made 7.54% of the total revenue of the year, and then in quarter two it jumped up to 17.84 and then jumped again in quarter three with 29.2%, and then quarter four jumped to 45.43% of the year's total, which is crazy to see that like each quarter was better than the last. I feel like quarter one is always very slow for me because people stop shopping in Q1 because it's right after the holidays. Everyone wants to do like a no buy kind of goal. So I typically don't get a lot of sales during the months of like January, Feb because of that. I usually get like 1 or 2 sales on my Etsy account, but then a majority of my sales during this time period is actually coming from retailers who are like looking at their budget for the year and then starting to buy their yearly inventory. And then in quarter two, I think I got that big jump from 7% to almost 18% because I lost my job and I had just too much time on my hands to, you know, focus on this small business rather than having to juggle both a full-time job and also the small business. So it's around this time that I did a bunch of markets. It was also the start of market season, so I just signed up for a bunch. I got asked to do a bunch. There was a lot of opportunity to go from like 0 to 100 here. So that's exactly what happened, and that's why you see that big jump from Q1 to Q2. This quarter, I participated in 4 markets, and one of them was my first corporate event. So I was basically asked by this company to be part of their AAPI month vendor, and I was one out of like, I think 10 other vendors, and I feel like this was my first one where I wasn't like a solo vendor. I was again 1 out of 10, so it was like my first time like really meeting other vendors and like just learning from them, especially like Asian owned businesses. So it was very fun. Again, it was like my first corporate event. I've never done one of those, so it was a great opportunity to one, meet the people who are working for this company and being able to just like connect and network with them. Hopefully I get to do that again next year. I would love to do more corporate events. I feel like we don't get a lot of like corporate events on the East Coast, or maybe like I'm wrong here, but I feel like there's a lot more, especially like for stationery on the West Coast where there's like a lot of tech companies like Google and Facebook. I've been seeing so many like of my mutual artist friends on the West Coast participating in those, and I'm always so jealous because I love corporate events and I just wish we had more here. So in quarter three, I participated in 6 markets, and then quarter four, I participated in 5 markets. And even though I did 1 less in quarter four versus quarter three, I did way better in quarter four just because it is the holiday time period. The quarter four was basically almost half of my revenue for the year, only because of the markets I attended, even though it's like the same ones that I've done in the summer, but more people are willing to buy, especially during the holidays. So I definitely saw more sales. Plus, this was the time when there was just like a boom in sales on my online stores because everyone's shopping like last minute. And on the side here, I'm gonna show you like a month-to-month breakdown. I will say there are 2 months that I saw like a significant decline, even though like month over month I've seen a growth. But for June and November, I saw a decline because those were the 2 months I actually took like a full month break because I felt like I was just burnt out from doing markets. So I did 0 markets during those months, and I think I did like very minimal like reels and YouTube. I just really focused on making art and resting. And then next up, let's look at sales by channel. So this includes my Etsy, my Shopify, my Fair, which is my wholesale, and then my markets. And then I have a last category, which is my custom, which is like just random things. So it could be me making custom art for someone, or someone just buying from me that's not in like a market setting or on my online store. It could be like my friends and family buying from me. Starting off with my custom sales, that was only about 3.82% of my total. Again, this is a very small amount because I don't do much with this. I feel like a lot of my customers in this category is coming from my markets who just walk by my table, like my style of art, and then ask if I can make them something for their brand. So it's not a lot, but it's something that I do want to grow. I know a lot of artists do like custom, maybe greeting cards for the holidays, and it's just something that I'm like thinking about doing maybe for next year, but I'm still like trying to figure out the best way, like especially logistically, how I'm gonna be doing that and like the timeline of it all. So still trying to figure that one out, but it's definitely something that I want to grow for next year. Next on the list is my Shopify account at 9.13% of the total. I'm not surprised by this at all because it just launched in Q4 in October, or end of October. So I only really had like 2 or 3 months of selling for this channel. So I'm not surprised that this number is so small. And then next up is my Fair account, which is again my wholesale account. It's at 10.67% to the total. It's something that I also would love to grow over next year, especially now that I have a website to lead retailers to. But I feel like I haven't done much with this at all. Like I think I should definitely do more, especially because I do want to be in more stores. I feel like the stores that I'm in right now, they're not as consistent as I want to be. They buy like maybe once or twice a year, especially like in the January time period, and then once like in the middle of the year. But I would love to have a better relationship with them and get more sales on a more consistent basis. Next up is my Etsy account at 15.95% to the total. I'm also not surprised here because it is one of my biggest drivers, because I am known to sell on Etsy and my Shopify just opened this year. So I'm glad that this is still thriving and people are still buying off of it. I do want to kind of transfer people from my Etsy account to my Shopify, but I think that will come in time. But I am still happy with this total amount. And then next up is my markets, which comes up to 60% of the total. I did a lot of markets this year. I did about 17 markets. And that is why a lot of my sales are coming from markets. I feel like a lot of artists talk about how markets is their biggest driving force in their revenue, and that is so true because you are literally sitting in a table for, you know, a few hours, up to maybe 8 hours, and you're trying to sell to people in real time, versus like someone just maybe browsing through Etsy or an online store, and they might just miss your stuff because they see other people's related items on the page. Other notable facts for this year is I did 17 markets, which I mentioned before, and then I am working with 3 new retailers this year. This year we sold 1,153 items, which is so insane to think, because as an artist I've always just dreamed that my items would be in people's hands, and now 1,153 are out there. Unit wise, a lot of my sales are actually coming from my stickers because I think it's just so easy to pick stickers up, especially at my markets. And then looking at my pins, even though I didn't sell as many of them as my stickers, it is one of my biggest drivers in terms of sales, and I sold 245 pins this year. In terms of best sellers, I feel like a lot of people continuously love my shrimp items, and that includes my shrimp pin and my keychain. I sold 34 keychains and then 31 pins. In terms of new items this year, we had 23 new items. A lot of it came from my greeting cards. I had 7 new greeting cards because I knew I wanted to grow that assortment this year. And then I had 5 new pins in the summer, 6 new stickers, and then I added a new kind of item into my store, which is magnets out of clay, and I brought 5 new magnets. And then jumping out of my shop, because I feel like this is still part of my small business, which is my YouTube account, and so just a little bit of the stats here. I posted 45 times this year. I tried to do maybe 3 times a month, which is every single week, and I gave myself like that 1 week break because I knew that if I do it every single week for the whole year, I would go crazy. But there are some months that I did try to do that 4 times because I had the energy to. But I feel pretty good that it was like 45 times because that's still a lot. Started the year off at 634 subscribers, and now we're at 924, which is a 290 subscriber increase. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but at least it's on the positive route and we're not going downhill. And we're close to 1,000 subscribers, so that means we're gonna be closer to being monetized. And then I just kind of wanted to end this video on some of my greatest challenges and my greatest wins. So starting off with the challenges. I think one of my biggest challenges this year was the burning out periods. Again, I had 2 full months of just resting because I was so burnt out. And I think it's like perfectly fine to, you know, take a break, get that rest that you need. But I feel like it's the fact that I worked myself to a point where I needed like the whole month break. I think maybe 1 or 2 days or a whole week would be fine, but a whole month to me personally is a little bit excessive, and I don't want to work myself too hard in that sense, especially now that like I have a full-time job again elsewhere. I'm gonna have to really, you know, prioritize and organize my time better so that I do have that work-life balance. So having to find a new routine that's more sustainable, so that I can do both, because I do love both. But I also only have, you know, so much time during the day to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish. So I feel like there are so many times where I'm just like doom scrolling on my phone, and I could just be doing more things for my full-time job and then also my small business. I also had way too many markets. I think I did like maybe 2 or 3 a month. Again, it was like 17 markets from like April to December. I definitely slowed down during the latter half of the year, but I remember when like I first started doing markets in the spring, I did like so many. I think there was 1 weekend where I did like 3. And after that, I just couldn't do any more markets. And that's when I took my first month-long break in June because I was so tired of doing that. So next year, I think one of my goals is to just do like 1 or 2 markets a month, but minimum just once a month from like March to December, because on the East Coast that's when markets usually start. So I think that's gonna be my goal of just doing that 1 market a month. And then my biggest win of the year is honestly starting markets and getting to meet vendors and customers in person. I feel like it's always been such a lonely business journey because I've always done everything online and on my own, but this year it's just so comforting to, you know, meet vendors who are on the same boat, have the same struggles, and they were just so kind, and they mentored me and gave me advice on just markets in general, where to go, what to do for your table, things of that sort. So it was so nice to just be able to network in that way. The greatest thing is everyone's local. Like, you see the same faces everywhere you go. Every time I go to a market now, it's like I know like 1 or 2 people, and I'm never feeling like I'm alone because I get to just like talk to my friend at the market who's like next to me or behind me or something. I feel like I learned so much from markets and these vendors, and I just like cannot wait to do this all again next year. And it's also crazy to think that I've been like doing this for so many years now and I'm still not tired of it, which is crazy because like I feel like when I get into a hobby, I lose interest like so easily because I feel like I just like hyper fixate on things. But with my small business, I'm just like so excited for the next thing. I've always have like new ideas to bring into my business and for the next year. So I'm just excited that I still have like so much fuel left in me to bring for 2025. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed my 2024 recap of my small business. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this channel.